the shrine of all the gods. Never was there a name more suited to a building of such magnificence and physical gravitas as the Pantheon. The centerpiece of the Polo Museale del Lazio, the Pantheon is one of the most visited sites in Italy. When it was originally built in 27 BC, it served as a temple dedicated to all the gods of ancient Rome, of the past, present and future. Its imposing form, the cult statues placed inside the building, and the way in which its dome resembles the vault of heaven, all these elements have given the Pantheon a magical aura. It is a place in which mysticism and formal architectural composition complement each other harmoniously.
Two enormous pillars placed against the walls of the cella support the massive vault that connects the portico with the building's circular body. The vestibule of the Pantheon is an intermediate area made of brick, and while it might not be as visible as the portico, or as emblematic as the dome, it provides the fundamental compositional link between the circular and rectangular structures. In ancient times, the vestibule's vaulted ceiling would have matched that of the portico, but this changed in the Middle Ages, when all the bronze gilding was removed. On the walls of the vestibule are panels decorated with floral and other religiously symbolic patterns, while the entire space is covered in the same fine-grained white marble typical of numerous Roman monuments. In Roman times, the two external niches beside the entrance held the statues of the emperors Augustus and Agrippa. Today, although empty, they still frame and emphasize the Herculean proportions of the doorway, giving the visitor the sense of a space that is not of human proportion. The cupola of the Pantheon is the largest unreinforced concrete dome in the world. Its perfect hemispherical shape and its width of 43.3 metres have made it the model for all domes of Christian churches and Muslim mosques throughout the Mediterranean and Europe. Its size is supported by the technical precision that went into its design and construction. The first and fundamental element was to ensure its stability. A structure of such dimensions would have been unthinkable without a substantially weighted exterior. This buttress, which is barely visible on the outside, cannot be seen inside. The second detail was in the mixture of building materials, with the heavier concrete mixes used for the base of the structure, and the lighter ones, such as pumice, used at the top. The very top of the dome is characterized by a 9-meter circular hole called the oculus. This opening, or eye, provides the only source of natural light for the entire structure. A bronze ring dating back to the original construction covers the lip of the oculus, and in antiquity, the entire exterior of the dome was covered in bronze tiles. The interior of the dome is decorated with a series of 5 bands of 28 sunken panels, known as coffers. The resulting grid effect serves to reduce the volume and lessen the immense weight of the dome. The 5 concentric rings surrounding the oculus amplify the feeling of vertigo that is perceived when looking up.
Not only is the Pantheon an architectural and engineering masterpiece, there are numerous stories and legends that surround it. From the most ancient and folkloristic tales, such as the one claiming that the oculus was created by the devil to escape from the temple of God, to the legend in which Cybele, the Greek goddess known as Mother of the Gods, appeared to Agrippa in a dream and requested that he build a temple dedicated to her. There is, however, a mysticism that has less to do with the physical aspects of the Pantheon, but is instead linked to numerology and archaeoastronomy, the study of the relationship between ancient monuments and the sky. With its only light source being the oculus, the Pantheon does, in fact, have a very unique relationship with light, so much so that it has been compared to a cyclopic semispherical sundial. The specific orientation of the building in relation to the cardinal points means that during the winter months, the beam of light illuminates the coffered ceiling, while in the summer months, it reaches the floor. And on the 21st of April in particular, date of the traditional anniversary of Rome's founding, the sunbeam shines directly onto the doorway, Emperor Hadrian was very well aware of the important symbolism between light and the divine, and at midday on this solemn day, he would dramatically cross the threshold of the temple with the sun, as if illuminated by a massive spotlight, something that would have been interpreted by the Romans as elevating the emperor up to the realm of the gods. As the facade of the portico faces north, it is never illuminated, thus enhancing this suggestive play of light and shadow when the strong beam of light spills out from the inside. According to legend attesting to the holiness of the site, it never rains inside the Pantheon due to a particular system of air currents caused by the divine architecture of the cupola. This, however, is challenged by the floor of the Rotunda, which is not flat but slightly convex towards the sides, whilst being higher and slightly concave in the central area. Further dispelling this myth is the presence of 22 holes located in the centre of the Rotunda that serve to drain away any rainwater that may come through the oculus. The entire floor is the ancient Roman original and features a geometric pattern formed by the use of differently coloured fine marble, sourced from every part of the Mediterranean. The fact that this is the very same floor on which the Roman emperors stood 2,000 years ago, followed by the emperors of the Holy Roman Empire, is a reminder of the sheer amount of history that the Pantheon has been part of. Once across the threshold, the sensation of a symbolic and mystical ascension is overwhelming. The vast emptiness of the cella was designed specifically with the intention of emphasizing the emotional effect on all those who set foot inside the temple of all the gods. The dome, hardly visible from outside, is now revealed in all its elegance and perfect hemispheric form. The circular structure that had masked the sheer size of the dome from the outside is immediately forgotten inside the cella, giving way to the harmonious proportions between the height of the dome and its width. The height is, in fact, exactly equal to the diameter of the rotunda beneath it, just under 44 meters, or 150 Roman feet. The creation of this heavenly effect is caused by the oculus, a round opening located at the very top of the roof, which provides the only source of light for the entire building. Emperor Hadrian was well aware of the political importance of the effect that religious architecture could exert on the masses. Therefore, with the Pantheon, his aim was to create the most dramatic effect of wonder and dizziness for all those who set foot in the temple. The Rotonda presents itself in its democratically circular form, in which every point of its circumference assumes equal importance. Along the cylindrical wall are 7 niches framed by Corinthian columns, which originally used to hold the 7 pagan gods associated with the planets. Between each of these niches are 8 smaller niches on high pedestals.
It was Emperor Hadrian's love for Greece and his tenacious desire to merge the great Hellenistic architectural tradition with modern Roman building techniques that led the rebuilding of the Pantheon into the structure we see today. The classical look of the building is clearly demonstrated by the sheer scale of the parts that comprise it. The hemisphere that makes up the dome, with its bold curvature, is representative of the grandeur that Roman architecture had always aspired to. The height of the cupola, which is partially hidden by the outer edges of the cylindrical base, is equal to the diameter of the interior circle it covers. The foundation of the rotunda is more than 7 meters thick and nearly 5 meters deep, and originally formed the parameter of a fenced square that connected the original temple with the neighbouring Basilica of Neptune. The most obvious reference to the Greek Hellenistic-style temples, however, is the gabled portico. Here, the 16 monolithic Corinthian columns, distributed in rows over the rectangular layout, form the antechamber to the cella or rotunda, the quintessentially sacred space of every Greek religious building. The rectangular portico and the circular rotunda are connected by a vestibule. In ancient times, the Pantheon was surrounded by other buildings, and this is why its external walls were left largely unadorned. The 3 cornices that cut the circular wall into 3 differently sized sections reveal part of the extensive network of abutments created to support the cupola.
The Pantheon is linked to the figure of a specific pontiff, that of Pope Urban VIII, born Maffeo Barberini. Before the election of Pope Urban VIII, the ancient temple's architectural decorations were almost perfectly preserved. But starting in 1632, he took a decision that the Romans saw as an affront. He wanted to melt down the original bronze cladding of the ceiling of the entrance portico to build the cannons for his fortress, Castel Sant'Angelo, and the huge baldacchino realized by his friend and great sculptor Gian Lorenzo Bernini. According to a theory, it seems that choosing that bronze for the baldacchino was a lie spread by the pontiff himself to justify his actions with a holy motive and deter angry protests about his military ambitions. In any case, the fury of the Roman public wasn't enough to stop the Pope from carrying out his project. In the 17th century, Bernini also built 2 small bell towers on either side of the Pantheon pediment at the request of the Pope. The Romans, though, hated them, claiming them to be ugly and out of context, and nicknamed them donkey ears. The bell towers were then removed in 1883 as part of some renovation work. The pontiff's choices were remembered by the Romans, so much so that a new saying was coined, still famous today. What the barbarians did not do, the Barberini did.